Almost 100 asylum seekers are again being held in Australia's offshore processing centre in Nauru after numbers dropped to zero in June last year. New Zealand agreed to resettle 450 refugees on Nauru in 2022 until mid-2025, but the government says this latest cohort is ineligible. Caleb Fotheringham has more.
My local driver is taking me to Australia's detention centres in Nauru. It's where Australia puts people who have arrived by boat as asylum seekers on an island the size of Rangitoto, sitting only 50 kilometres south of the equator. They will never be allowed to settle in Australia. Mohammed Anjum is in Regional Processing 1, where about 90 asylum seekers are being held before moving into the community. He asked if he could be visited by RNZ Pacific, but was told the request needed to go through the Nauru government, which he doesn't have access to, so RNZ called him instead.
No humanity here. Just treating like animal. There is no feeling.
Authorities in Nauru have been famously hostile to journalists. My driver, fearing serious repercussions, says if anyone asks, say you're a hitchhiking tourist. In 2018, police detained TVNZ reporter Barbara Drever for interviewing asylum seekers in the community. It's what we're doing in a place locally known as IU Camp. We see some, but have to keep driving because security is nearby, and have another crack later in the night.
Okay, good, perfect. No security yet.
What's your name?
My name.
We managed to talk to a small group on the street. Muhammad Ahmed tells me, like everyone else, he doesn't know how long he will stay on Nauru, only that it will be a long process.
Long time process. Someone says 8 years, someone says 10 years.
Despite language barriers, the group manages to tell us they've been treated well, but are struggling to survive on their monthly allowance of 460 Australian dollars.
Not enough. We are very expensive, everything. Price very expensive.
Back at Regional Processing Centre 1, Mohammed Anjum says access to healthcare and mental health specialists is difficult. He has asked 3 times to be seen by an eye specialist and is still waiting.
There is only one GP, just for the fever or the normal thing. But if it is a little bit harder, for example, the eye disease, air problem, the teeth problem, no specialist here.
In a rare media stand-up with pre-approved questions, Nauru's President David Adiyang says the Regional Processing Centre has not damaged Nauru's international standing.
I think it has done a lot for Nauru. It, at one stage, cured all of our unemployment issues. But I do think that the journalists need to be a bit more fair, a bit more balanced. I know that in the hundreds of reports, possibly thousands of reports regarding the RPC, only one has been balanced. And I think that the problem is not the RPC, it might be the attitude of certain journalists.
He also says health complaints like Mohammed Anjum's are overblown.
We have hundreds of people looking after 101 refugees here. Of course, our medical facilities here are not as what may be expected by others. But what we do is we send them overseas. Now, if he does have a case to be treated overseas, he will be sent overseas to be treated.
My local driver holds a similar sentiment to the President, saying when Australia set up the detention centre, it was a flashback to the glory days when phosphate mines brought economic prosperity. He believes many of the asylum seekers are living better than the locals, with air conditioning and free healthcare. New Zealand's Foreign Affairs Minister Winston Peters, who was in Nauru on Thursday, says countries must be able to pick and choose who enters.
Countries have a right to say the first thing that concerns us and our responsibility as politicians is the law and order and security of the people in their homes, in their streets and in their businesses. Those are fundamental rights. No one has a right to say, I'm going to land in Australia and I'll do what I want, and I'm going to become now the responsibility of the Australian people.
In June 2022, New Zealand agreed to resettle 450 refugees until 2025 from Nauru under the Australia Refugee Resettlement Agreement. Around 170 refugees have been resettled, and all the refugees that are currently being considered are now in Australia. A government spokesperson says those currently in Nauru are not eligible under the resettlement agreement. Mr. Peters had this to say when asked if New Zealand should take refugees from the latest intake.
Are these people entitled to jump the queue against people who are applying to come to New Zealand legitimately as part of our immigration program and our responsibilities of international engagements.
In the meantime, Mohammed Anjum and the other asylum seekers remain uncertain about their future.